Well, hello again, and welcome to the week 2 update of what I've been doing. I've re-rolled into a new class. In this case, it's a well, Gladiator. I gave up on the pyroclastic mine. It felt too squishy. Although I had 100% conversion with a little bit of armor, so I wasn't dying in maps anymore. But it just the damage wasn't there. So in this case, I wanted to remake a build that was posted back in Mercenaries League by Real Nito. That build used the Binds of Blood of Vengeance together with the normal Reckless Defense Jewels. That states that you have more block chance, but you take increased enemies gain increased critical strike chance against you. So you had to sort out critical damage immunity to, well, use the build. Otherwise you just get one shots every now and then. In this patch, they instead added the Scream Study Desiccated, I believe that's what it's called. That has random shrine buffs. In this case, we have a Diamond Shrine buff, and Diamond Shrine states that you always deal critical strikes. This is like 40 Divine, so it's not League's not viable. So we no longer need to be crit. And instead of sorting out critical damage immunity, we can instead just use the replica version, which states that we can have a high chance to be frozen, shocked, and ignited, which is easily countered by just using purity of element. And since we are using lots of uniques in this build, we are also resistant starved, so purity of element is a safe choice. So, what is Crushing Fist? Crushing Fist is a retaliation skill, which means you need to block before you can use the skill once, and then it goes on a like 2-second cooldown in general. We can circumvent that by using the Gladiator, so we can spam the skill more at least, so you have a 50% chance to use the skill again. On the Gladiator tree, we have No Forgiveness, which is a hidden passive here. That is a prismatic oil and a gold oil and a black oil for 20%, and a Rune Graft of Time for another 20%, making it 90% chance to use the skill again and again and again and again before it has to go on cooldown. Since all of our hits are always critical hits, then we don't need any crit chance, so we use, well, both Abyssus and Marlene's Fallacy for big critical strike multipliers. Since we don't need to use the Maven Helmet or the Brass Dome to get critical damage immunity, we can instead use the Abyssus for even more flat physical damage. Together with Steel Rings, which has the highest flat phys available. These rings are not perfect, but medium rolled, pretty much. To get even more flat phys, because phase breakers are then multiplying it by 100 if you have a max rolled one. In this case, you can get even more than 1,000 with the, what's it called, the Valcoin? Volatile Valorb. If you're lucky, it divines the item first, and then it can roll 20% below the minimum roll, up to 22% above the max roll. So theoretically, you can get a glove with 1,200% if you're lucky. Which will probably be best in slot if you can get the vulnerability on hit on a ring instead. Anyhow. Defensively, we're of course using the Azadi Crest, which states that our lucky block are using 3 rolls instead of 2, and we get lucky block from the Gladiator. So if you're not using versatile combatant, you have pretty much a 98% block chance at that point. But where do we get all the spell block from? Well, we have prodigious defense, which grants us 4% spell block on each and every cluster jewel. We have 2 rare jewels with plus 3% spell block. We have 2 replica reckless defense with plus 6%, together with tempest shield, and that grants us 75% block chance of, well, block chance to spell. Attack, we are well overcapped, so don't really need to go into how to sort that out. That's the easiest part. So we have a hardening skill that is spammable. We get lots of flat damage from the abyssus and steel rings, and lots of crit multi from these two as well. You can get crit multi on the tree if you want. You can also get crit multi on the rings if you can sort out the attributes and resistances. Speaking of resistances, you have a high chance to be frozen, shocked and ignited with the replica reckless defense, which is easily countered by the purity elements, as I stated probably earlier, because I'm just rambling at this point. I have no script, I don't want to use a script, it takes time, and I want to go back to farming. But in general, Gladiator builds are weak to damage over time, because no sustain on the Gladiator tree. So how do we sort this out? We can use the Soul of Akali Pantheon to take 10% reduced damage from damage over time. We use Leech and some life regen from the fortification, which we easily get by using retaliation skills, which fortify on melee hit. Eventually, I'm gonna get the Gladiator, not Gladiator, the Slayer node to grant us that our life leech is not removed when we're on full life, so we're always leeching, and that will sort everything out. But that's like 20 divines or something. Other auras, Blood and Sand and Flesh of Stone, just for more AoE when mapping, and Bloodstones whenever you're fighting a boss. Tempest Shield for block chance, Pure Developments for resistances, since we're using so many uniques. We are resistance starved, which means we need lots of resistances, all elemental resistances on rings, on the armour and boots, preferably with some chaos resistance. I will eventually use a Watcher's Eye here with Pure Elements grants you flat chaos resistance as well. Together with a Pantheon, that will make us pretty much immune to damage over time. We have endurance charges on both block and on kill, so we are always at maximum endurance charges. You can get more endurance charges if you want by grabbing these and these. What else is there to this build? Tons of AoE. Melee skills have increased area effect, and monster can't block attacks, and even more area effect from the retaliation. We have Fist of War, we have Pulverize. The AoE is massive. As you might see, we also have 3 rings, which helps out with the face break scaling, and we get that by using the King of the Mist ascendancy for another ring slot. It also grants us unaffected by poison, and it states that we can't use any flasks, which we don't care about since this belt doesn't work if you have flasks activated, so we have no flasks at all to guarantee a crit and also become immune to poison. We also have bleed immunities, since our helmet have armor as the highest value. We also have corrupted blood on the replica defense, reckless defense jewel, making us immune to most damage over time sources. So now the only damage over time sources we have to worry about are non-ailment ones, such as probably maven beams, vortexes, blooded ground from very specific enemies. I guess I could just give you a quick showcase of what this build looks like. Actually, let's just go to Delve.
Will you follow?
I'm currently digging down, so I'm only at like 250. I made this build with Delve in mind.
I can't do this just yet.
Sounds good. Now if you stand still and right click. It's that easy. Oh, water cavity, nice. As you might see, there are some damage over time sources, that there are novas that pop out every now and then from Delve enemies. And that's the only scary part, which will be solved once I get the Leech stuff removed when I'm full live. Yep. Might see most bosses I just get a one shot at this point. I guess I could just quickly show a normal map showcase as well. So let's just do a random tier 16, preferably with this should be fine as long as it doesn't have physical reflect or less block chance. You're good to go. Of course, you don't need the infinite leech as long as you don't need the infinite leech if you don't want to. You can instead go with the reflect immunity and more damage on the Gladiator, but I want to be more tanky, thus I'm going with the leech one. The boss is just removed. Might crush here because these bosses are a bit scuffed. Those bosses are gone. Right, the players are bad for being a retaliation skill because the AoE is so massive. Not everything is cleared, and this is melee, so it is what it is. But I'm having fun with this build, lots of fun. It's super comfy, super tanky. You're still prone to one shots if you're playing with crits, but of course there are ways to mitigate it. And now we just backtrack to clear all the cash that we left behind, because we're doing beyond when I'm spawning or such like. I just want to run through maps as fast as I can. Alright, that's the build showcase. I hope you enjoyed, and I see you in the next video.